In 2006, I was 13 when I met Connor. We had just moved to a quiet neighborhood in Illinois, one of those suburban areas with cracked sidewalks, aging maple trees, and houses that all looked the same after sundown. Connor lived 3 doors down, a lanky kid with oversized glasses and a raspy voice that always sounded like he was hiding a secret. We became best friends instantly. Bike rides, sleepovers, late-night horror movie marathons. We even made up our own club called the Pact, a secret brotherhood sealed by a blood handshake in his basement. Just the 2 of us, forever. His house was old, creaky floors, wallpaper peeling at the corners, and a basement that smelled like mold and rusted iron. That basement became our hideout, our headquarters. We kept our comic books, BB guns, and a shoebox full of club rules stashed behind the old water heater. But there was one rule we never wrote down. Never open the door behind the boiler. Connor's dad had nailed it shut years ago, said it led to a crawl space that flooded decades ago. But even at 13, we knew there was something off about it. The wood around the door looked burned, black and brittle. And on the inside, we always heard noises. Scraping, breathing, whispering. Once I pressed my ear against it and swore I heard someone whisper my name. Eli. One summer night during a sleepover at Connor's, we dared each other to open it. He smiled like he'd been waiting for this moment forever, pulled out a claw hammer from under a pile of blankets and started ripping the nails out one by one. I told him to stop, but he didn't. When he pried the door open, a wave of cold, damp air poured out. It wasn't a crawl space. It was a room, pitch black, lined with crumbling stone walls and something standing in the far corner. Tall, still, watching. Connor stepped inside without hesitation. I shouted, "Connor!" He turned and smiled at me. "It's okay. I have to go now. It's part of the pact." And then the door slammed shut. I ran screaming to his parents, but they couldn't find him. Police searched for days. The basement was bricked off, and eventually everyone, even my own parents, started to look at me like I was crazy. There was no hidden room, they said. No door behind the boiler, just a wall. Connor was never found. Years passed. I moved away, tried to forget. But in 2018, I returned for a work trip and decided to drive through the old neighborhood. The houses hadn't changed, neither had the air. I parked in front of Connor's house, now abandoned, windows boarded up. But the basement window was shattered. Something pulled me inside. I climbed through and dropped into the darkness. There behind the old boiler, I saw it. The door. No nails this time. Just a single note taped to the handle. "You're late." And faintly, thought from behind the door, I heard him. "Eli, it's time to finish the pact." In the summer of 2015, my best friend Riley and I worked as junior counselors at a remote summer camp in the Catskills. We were both 17, trying to make a little money, get outdoors, and truthfully, sneak away from the world for a few months. The camp was old, built in the 1950s, and most of the cabins creaked when the wind blew. But we didn't care. We had a routine: work during the day, tell ghost stories by the fire at night. Except one night, Riley didn't tell a story. He told the truth. It was just the 2 of us, sitting by the embers after the kids had gone to bed. He looked over at me and said, "There's something I've never told anyone. But this place, I've been here before." I raised an eyebrow. "Like as a camper?" He shook his head. "No, not me, my brother." Riley didn't talk about his brother often. I only knew he died young, maybe 10 or 11. Riley continued. "He disappeared here. Summer of 2007, cabin 4, vanished one night without a sound. I felt the temperature drop, like the fire had suddenly lost its warmth." He went on to say that no one believed his parents. They were told it was an accident, that maybe his brother wandered into the woods. But Riley didn't believe that. Because the night his brother vanished, he'd left behind a note. Just 3 words, scribbled in charcoal on the wooden wall of the cabin. Don't trust Ben. Here's the chilling part. Ben was the name of Riley's imaginary friend growing up, or so his parents thought. But after that night, Riley became convinced Ben was real and dangerous. Some kind of presence that followed children, waited until they were vulnerable, and then took them. I thought maybe he was just spinning a really dark campfire tale, until 2 nights later, one of the kids in our group and a quiet boy named Milo came to us pale and shaking. "I saw someone in the woods," he whispered. He was tall, no face. He told me not to trust Ben. We dismissed it as imagination. But then strange things started happening around Cabin 4. Windows opened on their own. All the flashlights drained at once. One night, the camp director's dog refused to go near the cabin, growling and whining at the door. Riley started getting withdrawn. He barely spoke, just sat outside at night staring at the trees. Then one morning I woke up and found his bed empty. He was gone. We searched for hours, staff, rangers, even helicopters, nothing. But that afternoon, one of the kids found something in the woods behind the cabin. A circle of stones. In the center went a pile of ash. And in that ash, Riley's name, scrawled in charcoal on a piece of broken bunk bed. No sign of him. They closed the camp early. Said it was wildlife danger. But I know what I saw, what I felt. Riley was trying to protect the kids, trying to stop whatever took his brother. He failed. And every now and then I still get texts from his number. Blank messages, just timestamps, always sent at 3:17 a.m. Same time his brother disappeared. Same time Riley vanished. They say if you're alone in the woods at night and hear your name whispered, don't answer. Because Ben doesn't forget, and he doesn't like being ignored. In March 2022, my best friend Ethan organized a birthday getaway for me. We hadn't spent real time together in years. Life had gotten in the way. Jobs, relationships, growing up. But this weekend was his gift. He rented a secluded cabin near Crystal Falls, Michigan. Far from the city. No reception, no distractions. He said, just you, me, and the others, like old times. But by the end of that weekend, everything changed, and I haven't answered a single message from Ethan since. There were 6 of us, college friends. We arrived Friday afternoon. The place was perfect. Snow-dusted pine trees, a frozen lake nearby, and a wood-burning fireplace that smelled like memory. That night, Ethan gave a toast by the fire. To old friends, buried secrets, and memories we never talk about. Everyone laughed. Except me. I felt unsettled, like the words were aimed only at me. Later that night, I found Ethan sitting alone outside, no jacket, staring at the woods. I asked him if he was okay. He didn't answer for a while, then said, "It doesn't forget. I thought maybe the ice would keep it quiet." I chuckled awkwardly, assuming he was drunk. But his eyes, they weren't drunk, they were terrified. He added, "I can still hear the breathing out under the soil." Then he stood up and went inside like he hadn't said a word. Saturday morning, everything felt off. The others laughed over pancakes. Ethan acted normal, too normal. But I noticed him checking the window, always glancing toward the tree line, sometimes even muttering under his breath. Once I heard him whisper, "Not yet, he's not ready to remember." I tried brushing it off. Stress maybe? Mental health? But that afternoon he handed me a folded note. It just said, "Check the root cellar before midnight." No signature, no explanation. That night, I waited until everyone was asleep. My curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed a flashlight and headed to the cellar out back. The snow was ankle deep, untouched, except for a single trail of footprints leading there. Bare feet. Inside, the air was thick, wet. The beam of my flashlight caught something at the far end, a small wooden box half buried in the dirt floor. I reached for it. Inside was an old photo of Ethan and me, younger, smiling, covered in dirt, holding shovels. Neither of us remembered when it was taken. On the back of the photo, in shaky handwriting, "He never forgave you." Suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the cellar, from the inside of the wooden walls. I dropped the box and ran. Back in the cabin, I confronted Ethan. I demanded answers. He didn't look at me, just stared at the fire and said, "10 years ago, my 17th birthday, you helped me bury something we weren't supposed to find." I told him I didn't remember. He looked up then, calm, cold. "You don't forget things like that, you just pretend, but it remembers, and now it's waking up." I asked him what we buried. He didn't answer, only said, "It has your name now, too." I left early the next morning. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't even take my bag. I drove straight home and tried to forget. But then, the dreams started. Always the same. Ethan and I, younger, in a forest clearing, digging, crying, then silence, then breathing, wet, ragged breathing, and something whispering from the hole. One stayed, one ran. I wake up every time at 3:17 a.m. to knocking. 3 knocks, always from the wall behind my headboard. And once, just once, I heard Ethan's voice outside my window. "It remembers you now. If you made it this far, thank you for spending your night with us." If these stories gave you chills, there's plenty more waiting. Don't forget to subscribe to Night Fear Stories for new terrifying tales every single night. Sleep well, if you can.